I do medical direction over private and municipal emergency medicine services. My only disclaimer is that I must give credit to all who've come before me and have proposed the following that I have here. Activating mindfulness in the treatment of alcohol use disorder, I found was extremely important in assisting my patients in gaining more than just here's the medicines, here's how we change your relationship with alcohol. The current literature and much of modern medicine in the United States has gone to a harm reduction model and not just an abstinence model. The World Health Organization does recognize 2 drinks a day for a male and 1 drink a day for a female as appropriate and acceptable use. But science has come out that shows that no amount of alcohol, commercially available alcohol, as we see in spirits or wine or beer, is healthy. And that's data that you can look up fairly easy on the internet. When I talk about alcohol, I attempt to share the receptor sites that alcohol binds to. Very few people realize the ubiquitous nature of alcohol. Alcohol is unique as a substance. It binds to the opiate receptor, the benzodiazepine receptor, the cocaine receptor, magic mushroom, ecstasy, marijuana, serotonin. I call these guys the 7 banditos. Now, you may not do benzodiazepines, you may not do cocaine, you may not take ecstasy, you may not smoke marijuana, you may not take opiate pills, but when you drink, you might as well be. The reason is alcohol, especially in a very dose-dependent manner, will bind to these receptor sites and then release their products, endorphins, enkephalins, dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin, etc. So that when you're in the journey of drinking, be mindful of the fact that you're binding to what I call the 7 banditos, because any one of these can be why you started drinking. All of them are why it's so hard to stop or control drinking. I talk about your 3 parts of us. The first part is our body, our animal. Second part is our brain, our supercomputer, or as I call our diabolical stupid computer. And then there's our mind. Our mind is our wisdom and our will and our spiritual salient nature. When I talk about the body, we deal with, as an animal, just like every animal on the planet, we actually share this. We come from the same source, this earth. And of that, dependent on our gene situations, our RNA, our DNA, when we are born, whether we're a human or whether we're another species on the planet, we have a body. This body has inherent needs. It needs to feed. It needs to reproduce. So there's feed, fight, fornicate, feel good, finance, resources, fiduciary power, and fear that the body has. Now, if the body is a domesticated body or a domesticated animal, it only needs 5 things. It needs sleep, it needs love, it needs shelter, it needs water and food. And food is very simply salt, carbohydrates, fat, protein. When the body is used to receiving alcohol, it's used to the sugar signal that alcohol gives. And at that time of day that people traditionally drink, they will crave sugar. Now, the body's never going to wake up and say, hey, I can't wait to have a toxic liver, some dead brain cells, potentiate 7 different cancers, and then be shrunken and hungover the next day. But there is a part of your body that then goes to the brain. The brain has an area I call the fiend. The fiend is the me, I. I'm angry, I'm lonely, I'm tired, I'm resentful, I'm fearful, I deserve, I want. And when that sugar signal comes up, the body will go, hey, mind, wisdom, will, over here. The body says it's time for a drink. Now, the body would never say that. It doesn't have that capacity. But the portion of your brain where addiction lies, where resentment, fear, anxiety, all of these aspects that make up the reasons we drink, that fiend has been mapped by neuroscience. I've kind of developed this idea that the fiend has a handle on a diabolical, stupid computer portion of our brain. Psychology has realized that the brain is an input-based process. I'll give you an example. If you tell a child to not eat at the couch and instead eat at the table, the child will hear in the brain, eat at the couch, because it cannot conceptualize the negative in front of the direction. Where if you teach the child, eat at the counter or eat at the table, that's the message that comes in versus the don't. This is what happens when we look at the brain related to neuroscience and the fiend. Now, how do we change this? This is the beginning of the journey of mindfulness. Number one, recognizing the three parts of us: our body, our brain, and our mind. And that they are distinctly different, but they can either be congruent or incongruent in their journey together. The action of taking your fiend and transforming it into your friend, what would be your friend? Well, neuroscience has determined and mapped out where the fiend is in the brain. When you go to affirmations of gratitude, what you do is you take that same part of the brain and you change it from the me, I, and you change it into the we. The we is the concept of a manifestation of prayer, chant, song, mantra. It's usually based on your belief system of where we resides. The Buddhists talk about becoming the we. You know, the Christian belief system is that's where God, Christ, and the Holy Spirit revolve around. Every belief system has their kind of we. And that's where the journey of your faith in gratitude begins the process of taming your animal with wisdom. And that's what I call the beginnings of mindfulness related to alcohol use disorder. Now, your faith is whatever you hold to be true, whether you've learned from a book, whether you've learned from the handed down of your family. The process of transforming that fiend that neuroscience has mapped out into the friend. And remember, they can't exist at the same time. You're either lighting up the me, I, or you're lighting up the gratitude of we. And in doing so, when you do that, you end up grabbing the handle of the supercomputer instead of the diabolical stupid computer. Now, this is the choice that we have, because your wisdom lives with your free will in your mind. So as you begin this journey of what change is, you start to recognize the needs of the body, how the brain operates, and then using your mind, your wisdom, and your will to guide this process. Now, often what you'll find in the journey of addiction, and addiction of any form, not just alcohol. I concentrate on alcohol. That's my specialty for how I care for people right now in one of my processes. But that journey of the fiend has a lock and key relationship with the seven banditos: opiates, benzos, cocaine, marijuana, ecstasy, magic mushroom, Prozac. I use Prozac as a term. It's not fair. It's the serotonin release system. What we find is that when you crave one of those receptor sites of the banditos, it's like a fiend on the, a little junkie on the corner going, man, I need a fix today. The fiend goes, bro, girl, I got you. Don't worry about this. The mind doesn't listen to the body anyway. And that's part of the journey of how we change. Okay, if the mind's not listening to the body, why isn't it? Well, if the mind is being mindful, it recognizes the body's just putting out a sugar signal, and the fiend is where that kind of dark entity thought process comes into. That's the beginnings of change. Gratitude in all systems of learning and teaching is the key to transforming your fiend into your friend. Now, how? Well, you recite a prayer, you do a mantra, you do a chant, you do a saying, you have a list of gratitude, you do a writing, which would be an activity, you have a song, but it's gratitude affirmations. And then you begin to tame your animal with your wisdom. You calm down the fear, you calm down the anxiety. You do this by transforming negative thought patterns into positive thought patterns, reinforcing thought patterns. Often you want to do this with others. It's quite often difficult in the addiction journey or the use disorder journey is the newest term, to change that thought form by yourself. Now, I call the process of the wisdom application taming your animal. Now, what about training your animal? Why would you want to train your animal? Well, to give it a new thought form, a new process. The journey of training your animal is recognizing with your wisdom and your will that the body's asking for sugar. It's used to sugar. So you give it a healthy sugar, dates, fruit, raw honey, agave nectar, maple syrup, something to short circuit that animalistic desire related to the fiend's interaction of let's go get alcohol. I call it putting a sugar binky in the mouth of the fiend and then going and doing gratitude work, working towards your friend. Now, to what purpose? What purpose is this that we want to do mindfulness? The purpose is that we wish to, shall we say, improve upon those base form functions that cravings and addiction run through us. So when it comes, you have to activate the receptor sites in a manner that is healthy. So think about it for a second. We're taming the animal with wisdom here. Now let's go train the animal. That would be exercise, the first thing you can do to train your animal. It activates the dopamine pathways, gives you endorphins and enkephalins. There's no one that's going to say exercise is bad for you. But what it does do is it begins the journey of feeding the receptor sites and releasing their products that the body is used to, that the brain is used to. Next is infrared sauna. Infrared sauna or regular sauna or some form of sweat process additionally releases dopamine, releases endorphins, releases enkephalins. Next would be cold therapy by itself or with the sauna process. Additionally, is extremely powerful for dopamine release, endorphin release, and enkephalin release. And they see growth hormone release in the science of cold-hot intermixture. In my opinion, while we do the physical, this is the crux of how we bridge taming your animal with your wisdom and training your animal. And this is your spiritual engagement. This is your faith. This is your belief system. This is your ideology. And in activating it and being present in it, either by yourself or with like-minded people based on your belief system, you dive into your faith. You seek the wisdom of colleagues, friends, and mentors. You begin the gratitude journey. Examples would be for a Christian-based belief system, James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader, listen and read you the New Testament on prayer.com. Going and doing Dharma Recovery, a Buddhist-based equivalent for Alcoholics Anonymous. Another would be ISA Foundation's Inner Engineering, as taught by Sadhguru, one of my favorite yogis. This lifetime he is alive. I did not get a chance for Paramahansa Yogananda and the gift of Kriya Yoga that he brought, but I have gone to the ashrams he's created. So these are examples of diving into your spirituality, in your belief system. This ties the training of your animal to the taming of your animal and transforming your fiend into a friend with gratitude. Finally, emotional intimacy with a mate, a friend, a mentor, or a group. When you have camaraderie with others who hold space for you to share your feelings, to talk about the diabolical nature of alcohol and the seven banditos, instead of somebody who goes, I told you so, you shouldn't have done that, which activates your fiend, and your fiend gets all hot and angry based on your animal and then all of a sudden you go drink again. So that is a safe place to do your emotional intimacy. In industry, Alcoholics Anonymous and the sponsor is a good example of who that is, but it can be anyone. The Dharma recovery programs have many options out there. There's just so many. I think you understand what I mean related to being able to share your thoughts and feelings in a safe manner. Finally, gratitude. The gratitude is a work in process. If your life is difficult, if the world is kicking you in the teeth, it is extremely difficult to go to gratitude. But I will tell you, and they learned this in Auschwitz. Auschwitz was the journey of the Jewish oppression by the Germans, is that those who were grateful in the concentration camps survived. Grateful for a crumb of bread, grateful for a shoelace, grateful for shoes, etc. And what this does in the gratitude journey is that no matter the me, I, that we all have, I always say the darkness or the wickedness of the world exists in grabbing the me, I, the fiend. Then we go do something diabolically stupid with our brain, our supercomputer. And I'm sure we've all done that, whether it be going and taking the last sweet of the family, all the way to the most despicable nature that humans can exhibit. Healthy sugar substitute is paramount in transitioning the body's request that it's used to getting. Now, why? Well, remember those cancers I talked about? Here are the ones that alcohol actually has been correlated and linked to causing: mouth, throat, esophagus, liver, colon, rectum, breast, stomach, and pancreatic. Your body will never ask for alcohol. It has no capacity to ask for something that toxifies the liver, kills brain cells, and potentiates those cancers. Now, what is the purpose of going to taming your animal with your wisdom versus training your animal? I came up with Haya. This is honor, integrity, and authenticity for self, to self, within self. And when you do that related to self, you have the ability to hold this space for others and manifest it for others. I truly believe that no matter our ideology and our belief system as human beings, Haya, just like on guard in karate, Haya, or my favorite is, how you doing, you schmuck? The East Coast version. I believe honor, integrity, and authenticity is the purpose for which we are alive, independent of ideology and belief system. Honor, it's towards others and upon yourself. It means recognizing the significance, importance, and validity and sacredness of perceived values, thoughts, beliefs, and understandings. As practitioners in the world of the balance or imbalance between the body, the brain, and the mind, holding space for others in honoring their beliefs, customs, and traditions, I feel is the strongest importance that we can do for others, holding that space. Integrity is that which shows that your presence in their existence is incorruptible. You're incapable of being false or untrustworthy. You pledge to them and yourself to use the best techniques within your ability to hold that space of honoring them. Then finally, authenticity. Authenticity is interesting. When you put a human being in a Faraday chamber without any electromagnetic energy around them, and you have them go into a state of authenticity, it's the highest vibrational state that we can measure a human to be in. You would think it would be love, but love is actually a lower vibrational state. Authenticity is our highest state. It's where you are honest within yourself and with others. You take responsibility for your mistakes, presumptions. I call it taking responsibility for your fiend, actually. We all have one. And then your values, ideals, and actions align. All right, I'm holding Haya. I've worked on mindfulness. I'm transforming my fiend into my friend. I'm taming my animal with my wisdom. Why? If you are holding Haya, honor, integrity, and authenticity, you would then hold the space for others to be mindful. In your mindful journey, transforming your fiend into your friend, you are able to hold the space for others to manifest in Haya. Thereby, any fiend that comes into your life bypasses. The best martial arts move is the deflection. So in my Haya, my fiend doesn't get to play. It doesn't get a seat at the table. It is transformed always to gratitude. This is the purpose of mindfulness. Our highest purpose is to be of the vibrational state of being united between honor, integrity, and authenticity. It allows us to hold that space. Unconditional love is the ultimate resultant of Haya in action. It's where you hold that unconditional love for all creatures, all plants, all animals, all humans. I believe it is our highest purpose of existence. And that is the end of my presentation for the journey of mindfulness in alcohol use disorder, above and beyond medications. That's a whole nother talk. I appreciate the time of being able to come and talk with you. I know it was a fairly quick presentation today. I believe they scheduled an hour. If there are any questions, if anyone's out there in the live stream world, I would be more than happy to answer them or have a dialogue.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us on a very important topic and how mindfulness is useful for attending those purposes in our life. So, the spiritual practices, the spiritual perspective of psychology is also very much needed, as you mentioned in your presentation. I think people and professionals should learn how they should treat the disorders or the psychological problems in a scientific and proper way. So one question is from my side. We know addiction is a big problem, not only in India or USA, across the globe. And especially the young age people, the boys and the girls, they are addicted to these kinds of problems. So, what is your suggestion or advice to the mental health professional, parents, or these kinds of teens, especially, to how they can overcome these kinds of disorders or the problems, and what are the preventive measures from your side? In brief, you can please suggest or advise us.
Absolutely. What I find when we attempt to connect with a patient or a client is that we must honor their space where they're coming from. They have their reality. Their reality is independent to them. And if you cannot enter their reality and answer their conflicts, their questions, their problems, you'll never be able to reach them. They won't trust you. That's that authenticity and integrity portion, to where you hold that space to understand why they're going to that addictions process. It's automatic for me, to want to feel good. Whether that addiction is fornication or masturbation or the quick dopamine fix. I mean, what's the ultimate dopamine fix? The ultimate dopamine fix has always been cocaine. That's why it's ubiquitous worldwide as the, hey, let's go. It's 100% dopaminergic activity. Modern use disorder and addiction focuses around the dopamine release. It's funny though, We also release endorphins, enkephalins, norepinephrine, serotonin. So you have to gain understanding of where that person is at that time. Connect with them to recognize that the process that they're using has X, Y, or Z negatives in its journey. From video games. Video games is a great example. It's instant dopamine on. Kids can do video games 36 hours straight. I'm old. I can't do that. I need to sleep after 8 hours. But the point is how you gain connection to them is looking at it from their reference frame and then attempting to show them with kindness, love, and consideration the folly of their journey. And if you talk about the fiend and the friend in the brain, and you separate out the animal and its desires, the brain and its input-based situation, and then your wisdom and your will, you can begin a discussion of, well, who's winning today, your friend or your fiend? Because your fiend is that me, I. I want to do the video game. I want the drug. I don't care about anyone else. Now, a lot of times you have to go in and assist their biochemistry, whether that be with homeopathy. I'll give you a great example. For homeopathic remedies related to alcohol use disorder that I use in my practice for those who desire, I use Nux vomica. Nux is phenomenal for alcohol use disorder. I use Passiflora for sleep. I call it the tranquilizer of sleep when people are having problems. Then Cafea Cruda for the brain that will not shut off. Now, do I have complements in the allopathic world of medications that I utilize? Absolutely. You may need to support their serotonin and norepinephrine if the levels are so low. What we found in medicine related to functional medicine, it's the link between the gut and the brain, the digestive system and the brain. I'll give you a great example. For many of my patients that are dealing with ADHD or anxiety, severe morbid anxiety, I ask them, are you taking a methylated B complex? Why? We have pathways in our body that we have to methylate nutrients in order for them to be incorporated into the functional use of creation of serotonin, norepinephrine, dopamine, endorphins, and enkephalins. And if you can't get those nutrients on board, then you don't have the ability to create your own. And instead, what we use in psychiatry and addiction therapy is, let's go ration what's in your brain. I'm an advocate of, hey, if 80% of your serotonin is made in your gut, why am I not maximizing the production of the gut? Well, methylated B complex, very simply, will assist you in that journey. So to answer your question, I know it's such a huge topic, but you start with the food that you put in the body. Diet. Your diet is most important in terms of that. The nutrients you take in, shifting them from the industrial foods to more natural garden-based foods, if you will. That's what I believe we were created for versus what it's become. That would be the first part of the journey. And then utilizing those tools that you have in psychology and psychiatry to connect with people, to get them to trust you. Not that you're the authoritarian, I'm the doctor here, you don't know nothing. Don't do that. Instead, what you do is gain their trust. And then once they trust you, they'll start listening to the nuances of change. So diet, nutrition, and then holding high honor, integrity, and authenticity in the space for them to manifest and change. That's hard when it's your kid, and your kid's supposed to listen to you. So that's where you need the professionals or mentors, if you will. I know when I'd read about the stages of development, you have the child up until 7 years of age. It's all support and it's love and it's holding that wonderful space for them to have innocence. From 7 to like puberty, it's you're the law. My rule is law. And then once puberty hits, your thoughts are useless. You're just a silly adult. You're dumb. And that's where mentors, coaches, and guides are really important in that journey. And often that's where their peers will take them on a negative path. So make sure that you've involved aunts, uncles, cousins, mentors, teachers, coaches, somebody to help guide them. Because as a parent of a teenager, your teenagers don't listen to you anymore. You're almost the enemy, which is silly because you're the one providing the space for them to live. But finding that person to help them in that journey that may be able to change that use disorder, change that addiction, change that affliction is key. And I'll tell you, try starting early with a spiritual foundation, whatever that foundation is. Wars, hundreds of millions of deaths over belief and ideology of where we came from. Hey, we're all made of the same crap from the same rock, produced by the same cosmic source. So I think from there, we should be able to at least get together and agree that Haya would be the end point of the existence of where we should get as human beings. Just my opinion, but I've been studying it for about 55 plus years in everybody's ideology and belief system. So it has to be ubiquitous. And when you bring them to their belief system, it can't be yours. It's not about you. It's about them.
Thank you so much for such a nice piece of suggestions. And yes, people should try to adopt whatever level they can in their life also. And parents should also take care that the transitional period of the human life. And yes, you mentioned very well that the ideologies are the real reason for having wars all over the globe. And yes, that's why we need the spirituality with fill of psychology, and that should be implanted in the human being. And uniqueness, that's we have a single sun and a single moon all over the earth. So there is something common with every human being. First of all, humanity and the spirituality should be taught at the early age, as you mentioned. And similarly, if anyone who are watching us or who will watch us later, if you have any query or question, you can also ask in the comment section, and sir will try when they got time. They will try to answer there also. So once again, thank you so much, sir, for such a nice and wonderful presentation. And before winding up this session on the 5th International Conference, what will be your conclude message remark to hold the humanity through this session?
We all crave love. We all crave acceptance. We all crave recognition. If you can give love, acceptance, and recognition to your patients, to your children, and set yourself aside and your fiend aside and stay in gratitude, you'll gain benefit in those interactions greater than you'll ever know.
Thanks a lot, sir, for your valuable time and the presentation.
Thank you, Samik. Blessings to everyone. May you have a good